Bangalore Mirror Bureau, updated, May 29, 2018, 4 o'clock IST by Reya. Mehrotra, a 15-year-old, is in a coma after getting an electric shock from a wire that Bescom had left unattended. The Sharieff family will always shudder when they think of May 23. A 15-year-old lively boy of the Sharieff family, living in Narayan Pillai Street, now lies in a comatose condition on ventilator at Santosh Hospital in Frazer Town after he received an electric shock from a pole right outside his tuition teacher's house. Mohammed Mubasir Sharieff would have never thought that his cycle ride to his very first day of tuition class would end in such tragedy. All keyed up to be promoted to class 10th in Street John's High School, the teenager had joined tuition classes and had just reached the entrance of his teacher's house at 1:40 p.m., when he saw his teacher too arriving at the same time behind him, on her scooter. He parked his cycle near an electric pole 3 meters away from the iron gate of his teacher's house. His teacher, who parked a few meters away from him, saw him falling backwards and shivering frantically. She panicked. It could be fits, she thought. Before she could arrive at any other conclusion and take safety precautions, the boy whispered in a low voice, "Electric shock," before he finally collapsed. As he fell on the ground, I rushed to support him as his head would have hit the concrete road. If he had not mentioned about the shock before collapsing, I would have thought it was fits. As he fell on the ground, I rushed to support him as his head would have hit the concrete road. If he had not mentioned about the shock before collapsing, I would have thought it was fits. I screamed and my mother came running. She sprinkled water on his face for him to gain consciousness. As we were about to pour some water into his mouth, my neighbor warned us against it as it was a case of electric shock. I could not have waited for the ambulance to arrive, so I took him to the nearest hospital on my scooter with another boy supporting him from the back. In less than 6 minutes of the incident, we were in the emergency unit. I saw his heart sink there and then, and he stopped breathing. The heart rate monitor started showing flat lines, which meant his heart and brain had stopped functioning. The doctors gave him 2 shocks to bring him back to life and his heart started beating again. I breathed a sigh of relief, says Humira Hawk, his tuition teacher, who rescued him. Ever since Mubasir came back to life, he has been unconscious and in the ICU. At times, his hands and legs start shivering as he recollects the horror of the shock. He hardly opens his eyes, and when he does, they are drowsy and he goes back into a coma. Doctors have kept him on a liquid diet. Arwath Sharieff, his mother, says, "Doctors say the chances of survival are bright, but he has to come out of coma first. They can't tell for how long he will be in that state." According to the teacher, children in her neighborhood would also tie their cycles with chains on the same pole and play around it, but no one ever experienced the same fate. She says, "I have been living here since the last 3 years and the pole is frequently touched by children several times a day. Even I park my scooter very close to it. But I don't know what happened in Mubasir's case. I suspect due to heavy rains and winds, some live wire was hanging from it and Mubasir came in contact with it." Bescom officials inspected it the very next day and took my statements. They said they had repaired the pole, but the damage was done. Bengaluru is a city with heavy monsoons, so officials must check every electricity pole for safety before and during the monsoons. As it was a critical case, the hospital staff called the police officials. The very next day, Mubasir's parents filed in fur against Bescom for leaving live wires unattended to during monsoons, but they were let down. Student Sharieff, his father, says, "When we met Bescom officials and complained, they first refused to accept their mistake. Then, they asked us to write an application and that they will speak to their higher officials and get back in 15 days. This is a matter of life and death. They can't choose to ignore it. But no police official or Bescom official has followed up with us."